So when I graduated from school on the other side in 2011, I figured out there was good money in the technology space. So I got trained as a systems analyst, and that's how I got a job as a systems analyst. And ni job yenye ilikuwa inanipea pesa mob. Cause by the time I was leaving my job huko US, hiyo yenye nilikuwa nafanya kama systems analyst, I was making about maybe today's equivalent of 1.5 million a month. And I was just an ordinary systems analyst guy. I was not a manager, school as supervisor, school and anything. So when I got into that space, because hata hiyo space yenyewe ya technology, me I was never really a tech guy. Huku nilikuwa nimefanya BCom, accounting and finance. America nilikuwa nimeenda kufanya MBA. But because mimi nilianza kuona some of my colleagues wenye tulikuwa na same class ya MBA Wahindi, mtu anamaliza wanaona wanapata job mzuri. So I started asking them like, how did this guy get this job, la 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 la. Maybe you can be trained, stories IT, and that's what I really did. So I got trained for about 6 months, alafu ndio nikapata hiyo kazi. Kazi poa sana. So it was paying me. By the time I left the job, I was getting paid 1.5 million a month, just a regular guy. So me, when I got into that space, I realized, one, there's not really a lot of people of my background wenye walikuwa kwa hiyo space, because unaona kama job unakuta watu wenye tunafanya job na wao ni mostly ni Wahindi ama Chinese or Americans, typical wazungu. So huwezi pata ati Mkenya mwingine. So me, what I started doing, I started thinking of how can I help our people wapata hizo opportunities zenye nilikuwa nimepata, kwa si waoni watu wengi wenye wanatoka my background. So mimi polepole tu nikaanza kutrain watu, ile tu as in kama side hustle, kutrain watu hizo vitu zenye nilikuwa nafanya na train watu sasa, alafu watafutia kazi. Kwanza nikaanza kuleta kwa the same company yenye nilikuwa nafanya job. Kwa Wakenya wengi hapo hata wakaanza kushindwa Wakenya wanatoka wapi? Najua sasa cause hakuna Mkenya mwingine alikuwa hapo after kuingia hiyo job. Nikaanza kuleta Wakenya huko. So mimi, because of course I have that entrepreneurship mind. So at some point I was like, well, you know what? I can do this thing as a business rather than just doing it as a side hustle. So that's when I started a company, a consulting company, ya kutrain watu na kufanya placement hapa na pale. But now around the same time also nikaanza kupata challenges za kupata watu wa kutrain sina. No, naturally when you have a business you start thinking of solving problems and unapata tu kwa business. So at that point ndio nikafikiria, well, since I'm not able to get so many people who can get into this space, where can I get as many people as possible to find these opportunities? So nikaanza kufikiria tu, nikasema si hata naweza maybe saidia watu wenye wako huko home wakuje tu waone venye mambo iko huko. So that's how idea ya program ilikuja. So I started the program in 2018. But kwanza ilikuwa very hard because when I started the program, no one wanted to join. So program yenyewe, what I did, because that process ya kukuja, I figured out that it was a very long one for me, of course, since it took me so long to get there, these visa denials and all that, and I had to figure out a lot of things. So I was like, I can come up with something that actually helps anybody who is smart and they don't even have the money to go to the other side. And so because from America, for example, the way I went to do my masters, it can cost you around 5 million Kenya shillings for a master's program. And I was like, how many Kenyans have that kind of money?
5 million, is it tuition fee plus accommodation, or just tuition fee?
That would be your tuition plus living expenses. For one, you need money for applying to schools. You need money for something called evaluation of transcript. You need money for something called enrollment deposit initishangwa na shule. You need money for something called entrance exams. Unaweza fanya exam inaitwa GMAT or GRE kama unaenda for masters. Then also you need money for your air ticket. Ama utaendaje America? Unaenda na nduthi? Hapana. Si unaenda na ndege. So you need that. Also you need money for medicals. You need ukifika pande ile, because mostly our funding on the other side normally takes time before it gets to you. Can take maybe a week or so utakuwa unakula nini, utakuwa unakaa wapi, utapikiwaje kutoka kwa airport mpaka shule. So that process requires money, averagely about $5,000, which would be around 700 to 800,000 Kenya shillings. Not many people have that kind of money. So I was like, well, I've solved the other problem on the other side ya kusoma, tuition and living expenses, but also I needed to solve this problem also hii ya kwenda hii. Yeah, so I came up with the program. And basically what we do is we are an education financing scheme that supports bright students to go and study abroad. Mostly we focus on students who are interested in STEM, masters. STEM basically means science, technology, engineering, and math. So the good thing with our program is that you don't really have to have done STEM. You could have done anything. Like for example, unaweza kulifanya theology, BA, whatever you'll have done. But as long as you're interested in STEM, you can definitely get into our program. So the way we finance the program, on the other side, we have a partnership with a banking institution, a lender that gives us the money to up to a tune of $100,000. But of course, you don't have to get all the other 100,000 because it's a lot of money ya kuchukua kama loan. So you get whatever you need. And then also we have partnerships with universities on the other side. Right now we have partnerships with about 25 universities. And also those universities, they give us some few waivers, which we call also scholarships. Let's say, for example, a university, to study in a certain university may cost you maybe, let's say, for example, 30,000. But what we do is we negotiate with those universities, because normally international students, they pay more than what the locals pay. Tunawambia, hey, rather than our students paying 30,000, can you please charge our students 25,000? No, unakatiwa like 5,000 because of the fact that yuko kwa program. So those are some of the ways that we normally reduce the burden ya students wetu. But whatever else is remaining, for example, kama shule kusoma ni 30,000, umekatiwa 5 na faulipe 25, still 25 is a lot of money. So what we do is we get funding now through our lending partners. Sasa tunakusaidia, which is unsecured loan. Then also hii ya kwenda tunakucharge tu once umeingia kwa program, hii tutakucharge tu kama loan, alafu tutulipa baadaye ukiwa pande ile.
So I want you to take us through the process of, applying, could join program until, you land on the other side. Because umesema this part is the longest one. Ukishafika huko, then you can continue with your studies. So take us through that process. Nikikuja kwa ofisi zenu, or maybe if I log on to your website, how am I supposed to go about it? Yeah.
So generally, the process to go and study abroad takes about a year on average. And we are assuming that everything goes as planned. Sometimes it can be longer, can be shorter, but on average about a year. So if you really want to go and study, so it's very important that you manage expectations up in terms of the timeline. Now, so basically what happens is anybody who is interested in what we are doing, the first thing is usually to go to our website, which is www.kenyaairliftprogram.com. Also, you can go and check www.international scholars program, since we are rebranding. But once you go there, the first thing is to download our program handbook. It has all the information about what we do, the courses, the schools that we work with, the scholarships that we have in those schools, all that stuff. You go through it, you understand how the program works, and then after that you make an application to accept into the program. For us to accept you, you must have scored at least a C+ in KCSE and a second class division for your undergrad. Any undergrad, si lazima umefanya STEM. And then what's the other thing? Also, we do check your credit hapa kama uko kwa CRB, because also you don't want to give you money alafu wewe si mtu mwenye analipanga pesa za watu. Yeah, so you must have a good credit in terms of you don't have any delinquencies. You can be having loans that you are servicing, but at least you should not have any delinquencies, as in ile uko na loans zenye ulipi. So you check.
So yani nikipatikana niko na CRB hata ya 200, you will have a problem accepting me.
Yeah, because it just shows that you are not financially responsible. Kama mtu anakupea 100 yake na urudishi, how do you think you will be able to repay millions and utapewa? Si utaruka kichwa alafu uepe na hiyo pesa. Yeah, so we look at that. But of course we get a lot of quite a number of students who have been listed on CRB and all that. But kama uko listed and maybe uko na somebody in the US who can be able to consign your loan, somebody who is a permanent resident or a US citizen with a good credit, somebody can co-sign for you, alafu you can still get into the program. Yeah. So we check all that, and then once you get into the program, to get into the program, by the way, it's not entirely free, because I get a lot of people, calling and say, hey, what, tuko na you guys mko na hii program where Kenya Airlift do scholarships, do nini. Well, of course, there's some cost that is associated with getting into a program. We normally charge $1,100 as our consultation fee. But then again, once you get into the program, the rest is taken care of. So you don't really have to worry, because umesikia process also requires money. Hii ya kwenda, like around 5,000. Hilo tutakupea tu. And then on the other side, kusoma, we'll figure out that for you. So the only thing that you need to worry about is $1,100. Unaingia kwa program, then unaanza kusomea exams zinaitwa GMAT or GRE. It might take you about 4 months kumaliza hizo exam. Unaweza anguka also. Ukianguka urepeat.
No option ya kurepeat. Nikirepeat tena nianguke.
Ukirepeat, every time you repeat, you pay for that exam. Ni $250. Yes, GMAT. It's expensive. Yeah, so now make sure you do well once you get into the program. But we get students who fail na repeat. So that's why I was saying, like, that process, in as much as yes, it's 1 year, it can even take you 2 years depending wewe tu mwenyewe kama umeingia alafu umeanza kuanguka hizo GMAT. Utasaidika aje? Ni kurepeat tu alafu ndio uzipita. Yeah, so there is that. And then once you're done with that, then you start the process of applying to your schools, and unataka kwenda kusoma. You have a big career advisory team yenye huwa ina sit down with you to understand your background, and then they advise you which schools to pick, which programs, why this program, all those things. Then once you apply to schools, you get your admission. Then after that, we process the funding now. Because for you to go to seek a visa, you also need to show to the school that you have the money to study. So that gets sorted out. Ukiwa pande hii bado, you get the approval letter, your funding, and then we send that to the school. You get your immigration document, and that's what you take to the embassy. As far as visas is concerned, also it's something that I always like really clarifying to a lot of the viewers and anybody who is interested in going and studying abroad. There is no guarantees when it comes to visas, because process a visa, it's not the Kenyan government that gives the visa, it's the US government. And kupata visa, actually you have to really prove that you are a genuine student. Typically Africa, as most countries, all countries in Africa, we are considered third world countries, and actually we are considered in the eyes of the US, we are high risk immigration country. Continent or country. Basically meaning that chances za mtu akitoka hapa arudi, they are very minimal. Ni ukweli ama si ukweli? Ni ukweli, si ndio? Because there are mashida zenye tuko nazo hapa. So they know that, and you can't change that fact. It is what it is. Tuko na mashida na watu wanataka kwenda huko. So of course with that comes with being restricted. Because US hawataki just anybody just to go there. Just because you want to go and study, it's not like they just want you to, because they don't know. You see, the problem that the visa officer normally have is basically identifying a genuine case ya student mwenye anaenda kusoma huko. Because unakuta watu mtu anaendanga embassy huko sijui na bank statement ya 40, 30, 20 million, na bado unaona mtu ananyimwa visa. Unajua kwa nini? Because the visa of the embassy, they're actually not able to prove whether hii pesa unaonyesha ni yako ama umeomba ama umeenda River Road ukatafuta statement somewhere ukawapatia. But what they normally look at when you go to look for that visa, they look at you and try to figure out whether you are actually a genuine student. So how they do that, it's basically the question that they ask you. For example, kama unaenda kwenda kufanya masters, most of the questions watakuuliza, for example, why are you going to the US? Why now? When did you graduate? What did you do for your undergrad? And if you did this course, why are you going? How is your course, what you did for your undergrad, how is it tied to what you are going to study? Whatever maybe you've been doing, maybe you got job hapa. Whatever you've been doing, how is it connected to what you are going to study? The other question is always, how do you plan? What are your plans once you are done with school on the other side? So as a student, you are not supposed to show your ties on that side. You are supposed to show ties upper, because this is an immigrant visa. So unafaa uambie, maybe once you go to the other side, of course, once you gain the knowledge, you'll come back here, you know, support the country. You know, there's a lot of initiatives zenye tuko nazo, you know, Vision 2030 unaweza ongea vitu kama hizo, you know, unaweza ongea vitu za, you know, climate change, you know, vitu kama hizo, vitu zenye zinaweza affect. Usikuwa at very selfish with useme ningetaka kuja sijui nifanye sijui job yenye nilikuwa nitaongezwa mshahara, vitu kama hizo. Those are very common answers. Ongea vitu zenye zinaweza maybe impact the world. You know, you can come back here, maybe let's say for example umefanya course kama cyber security. You know, you can say for example here in Kenya, you know, cyber security, I mean infrastructure ya technology hapa it's not that good. I can come with my skills and help the country, you know, combat, you know, vitu kama cyber crime, vitu kama hizo, as in broad. Yeah. So that's how that visa officer will be like, this person, this looks like a very good student, so we can allow this person to go and study. You understand? So yeah, so key thing is basically to prove you are a genuine student.
You are watching Success with Bob Mwiti Show, presented to you by the International Scholars Program. The International Scholars Program is an award-winning international education financing scheme that helps bright students to pursue graduate studies abroad regardless of their financial background. You can find our programs by going to www.internationalscholarsprogram.com. The International Scholars Program, empowering dreams.
Most of the time actually hata the visa officer hata waangaliangi hizo madocuments zenye umeleta. And that's also why I was getting denied those days, because you see, when I was going to the embassy at the time, and I was very timid. I was like, nilikuwa naogopa tu, as in hata, and of course communication skills wise sikuwa poa those days. So if you don't have that, it becomes very hard for you to get the visa. So anyways, bottom line is visa is usually not guaranteed, and anybody who comes to a program, anybody that I talk to is a potential international student. Me, I always tell them, man, when it comes to visas, you really have to prove yourself. But just because there is a chance that you can be denied a visa, it should not stop you from pursuing your dreams. Because you can be denied visa once, but go back again, apply for the visa. We have students actually who get visas at the second attempt, third attempt. Actually, we have a case of a student who got his visa at the fourth attempt. Alienda is January. Yeah, so this process requires you to be patient and also be somebody who is resilient. As in, when it comes to if there is any, you know, frustration through the process, you dust yourself and keep on moving. Yeah, so that once you get your visa, then we facilitate your air tickets, tunakukatia tikiti nini kila kitu, and then we send you on the other side. Ukifika pande ile, we have somebody waiting for you. We have a big community around the schools and tunafanya we are partners with, because we have already students there. So you go there and you join that community, and you're all set and you start your studies. Yeah, so that's actually how the process works. But like I said, usually on average about a year, but it can take longer. Yes.
Okay, so these interviews, you know, to get the visas, you know, you've talked about your team will take the student through the courses to pick, advise them, you know, like an advisory.
Yeah.
So will they also train me as a student how to handle those interviews? Yes.
Yeah. We have a very, very intensive visa coaching program, where we prepare you for the visas, because at the end of the day, we don't want you to go to the embassy and you have no idea of what will be the questions that you'll ask you. So we do prepare our students that on all that for them to know, okay, this is what is expected, you know, hii ndio maswali zenye utaulizwa and all that. But at the end of the day, for us is just to prepare you. So si ati nitakuwa hapo kwa visa. So wewe tu na Mungu wako na huyo visa officer, unaweza kuta saa zingine hata si wewe, mistake hata si yako, umeenda hapo embassy umekuta maybe visa officer mwenye ako hapo hiyo asubuhi yako na mood zake, you know, alafu anakunyima tu. Yeah, and then you just take it and then try again, and you'll get the visa after some time. Yeah, but we do support.
Right. So part of the requirements you've talked about ni grade, you know, and you have to want to do STEM courses. You know, I know there are people who are wondering, is age an issue?
Very good question, by the way. So we get a lot of students who are interested in getting into our program, but of course they are a little bit older. Maybe they are like my age. I'm over 40. So we actually have a lot of students who are over 40. Typically, we encourage students who are below 50. If you're over 50, it becomes very challenging kupata visa because again, it boils down to the same point yenye nilikuwa nimesema earlier that you need to look like a genuine student. When you're over 50, that visa officer ataona huyu over 50 maybe the kids watoto wako ndio wanafaa kuwa wanaitisha visa za kwenda America, si wewe. So wataona hiyo kesi yako, hata kama wewe ni genuine, they'll see that you are not really, to them where they sit, they'll think you are not a genuine case, so and you are more likely to get denied a visa. So we normally advise anybody who want to join us na over 50, tunamuadvise hiyo sasa, don't join because of this and this and this. But actually we have students who still want to join hata kama wako over 50. And kama unajua, at the end of the day, man, me, I can't tell you don't go to school because you're over 50. I can only advise you from a professional standpoint. But when it comes to making that decision, wewe mwenyewe ni wewe mwenyewe tu ujue, okay, this is good for me, I can keep trying. We have people who are over 60, actually over 60-year-old tuko nao kwa program. They've not been successful yet, actually. They haven't been successful. They've been denied visa, but they're still in the program trying again and again. Yeah, we have them. 40s wengi sana wamesucceed. In fact, actually the oldest ones wenye wako pande ile wako over 40, I think they are like 47, 48 around there. Na ni wengi over 40s by then. But also most of our students, they are over 30, 35 na huko. Unajua hao ndio wamekula shida hapa hii Kanairo. That's why hii Kanairo saa zingine inaweza kupeleka mbio.
Inaitwa shamba la mawe.
Shamba la mawe. Yeah, so at that age also sometimes that's when you realize that what hata hii job yenye nilikuwa nadhani it can propel me to the next level, haijanifanyia hivyo. So people at that age, people start getting worried, and you start looking for other opportunities, maybe start a new life altogether, vitu zimekuramba huko, that. Yeah, so you get a lot of those who are over that 5, so many of them. Yeah.
Does it matter the time I graduated? Because I think there's a time I was personally interested in, getting a scholarship to go outside and study. Yeah. But, the requirement was you must have graduated in like the past year, like a recent graduate. So does it matter for, your program?
No. Actually, one, we don't care about your work experience. In fact, actually, you can join the program when you're still in school, in your 4th year. That's one. It doesn't matter really what you've been doing. As long as you have the right qualifications in terms of your academics, you should be good, yeah.
So what happens when I've been denied visa the first time, second time, third time, and, I had enrolled with the amount of money that you had told you talked about, the $1,100. So what happens? Nimechoka, give up, I want to quit this program. Ama maybe hata nilifanya tu one visa application and I am already I do not want to continue with this program. What happens?
Yeah. Very good question. So for us, we want also serious students. Hatutaki kama wewe unasema sijui nini ati nikianguka zima ati nimetoka, ama nikinyimwa visa nimetoka. No. We want somebody who will actually walk with us through this whole journey. No matter what happens, you are still there. So we have a refund policy, of course. If you stay within the program for more than 6 months, you're not going to get anything. So you're going to lose your money. So of course, you don't want that to happen. So you stick around, If you get denied a visa, you go back again and again and again. Because otherwise, if you withdraw from the program, you're not going to get anything, So, yeah, so there's that policy. Once you are within the program for more than 6 months, you can't get anything back. But if you withdraw from the program within the 6 months, you can get $500 back. Yeah, of course, then, of course, we take any other expense that you'll have incurred around that time. So, yeah. So that's the policy, and as far as refunds are concerned.
Right. So, assuming the program has gone well, mi nimeenda majuu, nimemaliza kusoma my 2 years, how is the repayment process like how? Yes, for the funding.
So remember I told you, we have 2 sets of fundings that we normally facilitate the student. There's that PCA relocation, and there's of course the other side of tuition and living expenses. Tuition and living expenses is the biggest amount. Naongea stories are 5 million Kenya shillings or $40,000-$50,000. This push on here, it's about $5,000. So ile portion ya pande ile ya tuition and living expenses, because we use an external lender who is our lending partner. That one, you repay 6 months after you graduate for the next 10 years. You don't have to be in the US. You can be in Kenya. You can be anywhere else. Because also I like clarifying that people think like, oh, because we are funding you have to stay in the US. No, you don't have to stay in the US. You know, the world has become a global village. Wherever you go, you know, you can be able to repay your loan. No big deal. You can also come back to Kenya and repay your loans here. So that one is for 10 years ya kusoma. Then hii piece ya kwenda hapa, this one we give this directly through our company. So this one is usually, repayment is usually for 2 years, and you start repaying 6 months once you land on the other side for the next 2 years. Si pesa mingi. It's usually like be around $130-$140 a month, which is not a lot of money. You know, when you're in America, pesa kama hiyo, that's pocket change. But anyways, it's something that you can be able to afford, because also see, our funding on the other side covers your tuition and living expenses. So there's no other expenses that you need to be incurring, because they are already covered by the funding. So you can be able to repay your loan very, very easily. Yeah.
When you talk about paying, you know, unajua kuna watu watatoroka tu at the end of the day. Do you have a way of, and this is an unsecured loan? Yeah, maybe you can start by telling us, maybe kuna mtu anaona anashindwa unsecured loan ni nini?
Yeah, so basically our funding is unsecured, which basically means you don't really have to show any collateral. You don't need ati baba kona shamba, sijui mko na gari, sijui nini. No, we basically look at your potential of making it in life, in terms of unaweza pata job poa, you know, once you are done with school and all that. And that's really one of the reasons why we use a very different model underwriting in terms of giving these loans. You know, typically traditional banks, huwezi pata mtu hawezi kupea milioni ati sijui milioni kadhaa bure. No, you can't get something like that here. Lazima ukuwe sijui na nini. But for us, we really look at your potential, future potential. And but for that also why we don't really just pick anybody out there on the street. It has to be somebody who we think is a good student, mwenye, because we are risking, it's a huge risk, so mwenye tunaweza risk pesa yetu na atatupea. So basically, you see, of course there's chances that somebody might take our money and then of course disappear somehow. But when you're on the other side of the US, the systems there work. See, kama hapa ati utaingia kwa mashimo sijui huko kwa village hakuna mtu atakupata. Huko systems work, and if you don't repay your loans or anything, life inaweza kuwa very hard. Hautapata kitu kama mortgage. Yani huwezi hata rent apartment, imagine. Yes, you cannot rent an apartment kama credit yako ni mbaya. Yeah, so you have to think about all those things, just in case you are thinking like, oh, can get all this money and then disappear. Yeah, tutakuweka kwa CRB ya huko na maisha
hiyo ni worse.
Yani, that's the last thing that you want to do, and especially when you come as a new immigrant in the country, you know, you're in school, you are doing well. You don't want those things to be happening to you. Yeah, so that's the only way that you are able to get back our money. But students pay. Yeah, they do, yeah. Yeah, because unajua huko si huko. Yeah, watu wanalipa.
CRB huko inafanya kazi.
Huko my friend, utakuwa in real trouble. Hautakuwa, you know, once you are not able even to rent an apartment, you become homeless. Unless maybe mtu akuweke. Yeah, so how can you survive like that? You know, you want to live your American dream. Hukuenda huko kukaa unaogopa, izui nini. So yeah, you don't want that to be happening to you.
So why did you decide to give, you know, to assist students to study only STEM courses?
Reason being because STEM skills are very marketable. So nakumbuka hata mimi nilifanya hizo systems analysis and all that after I was done with my masters. So because of that fact that, you know, these are skills that are very marketable, I felt like the only way that we can be able to help people, it's basically only focus on those who are interested in STEM, because skills as STEM ziko needed all over the world. Yeah, so that's why.
I think the next question maybe I would want to know is, when you talk about living expenses, so what is catered for? Ndio hata student akienda huko akaya kijua maybe you'll need to hustle here and there, to provide yourself with this and this?
Unajua sisi ni wa Kenya and ukienda pande ile lazima uhustle bana. Even me by the way, when I was in America as a student, even though my parents were giving me the pocket money, mi nilikuwa nimewekwa maisha poa sana by the way, uko na my dad. But at the end of the day, because you know me, I've grown up in the village and me, I know the pain of being poor. Because at some point, of course, I was poor with my grandparents and all that. So for me, I knew what it means if you don't have something. So hata nikiwa pande ile nilikuwa na hustle sana by the way. Nikiwa huko shule, mimi nilikuwa nafanya job sana. I used to work a lot. So when it comes to your living expenses, basically it's usually your accommodation kwenye utakaa. Typically students accommodation unaweza kunalipa rent ya maybe you average rate about maybe $700 per month. And that's usually like shared accommodation. And then of course there's books. You need money for bills, your internet, whatever, all those things. So that's really your expenses. Of course, it may be mngaro, hapa na pale. Yeah, that's all. There's no other expenses. Otherwise, apart from that, unajua ubaya wetu, when we go on the other side also, our families wanaanza kukupigia simu, sijui nini, your little sister, your little brother anataka sijui nini, na wewe ni student huko, anataka uwatumie kakitu. Maybe a few of those things, but apart from that, that's really all you need.
So I think we are running out of time, so maybe you can just wind up tuambie, talk to Kenyans who might want to join your program. Tukimalizia.
Fantastic. So again, if you're out there and you are interested in getting into the program, the thing that you can do is go to our website, www.kenyaairliftprogram.com. And like I said, because we are rebranding, you can also go to www.internationalscholarsprogram.com. Go there, download our handbook, get to know exactly what we are doing, the schools that we work with, the programs and all that. And then from there on, you can join the program. In terms of doing your due diligence and checking out what we are doing on social media, personally, I'm very active on Facebook. On Facebook, I go by Bob Mwiti, and you can check me out on Facebook. And then, of course, also on YouTube, we are known as International Scholars Program. So you can just go there and check out some of the beneficiaries of the program. One stories out, and then from there on, you can join the program. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bob, for your time. We appreciate.
So asante sana. Thank you. Yeah.
Anyway, guys, so you've heard from Bob. In case you want to study abroad, you know what to do. Yeah, thank you so much. See you next time.
You have been watching Success with Bob Mwiti Show, brought to you by the International Scholars Program. Come back again next time to learn concepts, tools, strategies, and resources on the path of becoming a successful international student abroad through real-life experiences. Be sure to subscribe to the International Scholars Program on YouTube and follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn.